You step out of the time machine, the metal doors hiss shut behind you, you adjust your modern wristwatch, take a deep breath of pristine prehistoric air, and, you prepare to invent the wheel a few millennia early.
Yeah, you're ready to be a living god to our ancient ancestors.
Right. But before you even have a chance to strike a heroic pose, you just start choking.
Like violently choking, gasping for air like you've just been tear gassed.
And right there, the whole Hollywood power fantasy just completely shatters. So, welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're exploring a really fascinating, speculative scientific text, and our mission is to basically strip away every single illusion you might have about time travel.
Yeah, we are breaking down what would actually happen to you biologically and psychologically if you experienced instantaneous temporal dislocation and were dropped directly into the Upper Paleolithic.
The Stone Age. So, okay, let's unpack this, because if you're like me, you probably think your smartphone-era brain guarantees your survival. But our source text lays out a brutal reality. You wouldn't even survive to see the sunset.
You really wouldn't. And the biological mechanisms behind why are just fascinating, because the thing that takes you out first isn't a saber-toothed cat or a pack of dire wolves. It's not even the freezing cold, at least not in those first 5 minutes.
Right.
Your initial lethal threat is actually an invisible microbiological reckoning.
Okay, so let's go back to that first breath. I step out, I breathe in. Why exactly am I choking? I mean, the oxygen levels back then were basically the same as today, right?
Well, the ratios of oxygen and nitrogen are roughly the same, yeah? But the payload that air carries is radically different. You have to understand, this is an entirely unmanaged primal ecosystem.
What does that mean, unmanaged?
Think millions of acres of wild, rotting, blooming flora. The air is absolutely thick with endemic spores, massive clouds of airborne pollen, and highly reactive, volatile organic compounds.
And my lungs just panic.
Total respiratory distress. I mean, your lungs and the lungs of the listener right now are accustomed to filtered, industrialized, fundamentally tamed air.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Even on a smoggy day in a modern city, the organic particulate matter is just nothing compared to the Pleistocene. Your modern respiratory system would be instantly overwhelmed by the sheer volume of organic material.
So it's like taking a highly specialized, liquid-cooled gaming PC and dropping it in a humid jungle. I mean, the hardware just isn't built for that environment.
That is exactly it, but it gets worse. While you're coughing, your immune system is probably freaking out too. A single sip from a pristine ancient stream could be fatal because you are completely naive to the specific localized bacterial strains living in the soil and water.
Oh, wow.
But there's an immune asymmetry here, and the darker side of it actually goes the other way. To the local hominin populations, you are essentially an asymptomatic biological weapon.
Wait, hold on. I'm the bioweapon. How I'm the one who's sick?
Well, think of your immune system like a highly advanced encrypted computer network. You have antibodies for millennia of post-agricultural and dense urban pathogens.
Right.
You can fight off measles, influenza, modern coronaviruses, and you carry dormant viral shedding from these diseases in your respiratory tract all the time. But the local tribes, their immune architectures haven't gone through the rigorous bottlenecks of the Holocene.
Okay, Holocene bottlenecks. Explain that to me like I'm 5.
Sure. Think of a bottleneck as a brutal survival test that narrows down a population. Over the last 10,000 years, the Holocene epoch, our ancestors started living in incredibly dense, filthy urban settlements.
Right.
Cities.
Living cheek by jowl with domesticated animals.
Exactly. And this bred horrific diseases. The humans who survived those diseases passed on their fortified immune systems to us. The Paleolithic hunter-gatherers haven't taken that test yet.
So I'm basically a Trojan horse. I walk into their camp perfectly fine, but I'm exhaling viruses that their immune firewalls don't even know how to recognize.
Yep.
I could trigger a virgin soil epidemic just by sneezing.
Exactly. But let's assume there's no one around to infect. You are still alone, you're coughing, and now the sun starts to go down. This triggers your next massive failure, which is catastrophic thermal shock.
No, wait a minute. Let me push back on this a little bit. We're human beings. We are apex predators. I mean, I go to the gym. I know how to shiver. Why am I failing so fast on a purely physical level just because it gets a little chilly?
What's fascinating here is the biological concept of self-domestication. So over thousands of years, modern Homo sapiens have effectively domesticated themselves, much like we domesticated wolves into golden retrievers.
Wait, really? We domesticated ourselves?
Yeah. And this means your physiological baseline is fundamentally altered. You have significantly lower cortical bone density than a Paleolithic human. You have drastically reduced muscle mass, but crucially, your thermal regulation is just fundamentally broken.
Broken how? I mean, if I'm cold, my body burns calories to warm up, doesn't it?
It tries to, but the Upper Pleistocene is characterized by extreme diurnal temperature fluctuations.
Meaning massive swings from day to night.
Exactly. It's boiling hot in the sun and freezing the second the sun drops. To survive that, without modern synthetic fibers, you rely on brown adipose tissue, or BAT.
BAT.
Right. This tissue is used for non-shivering thermogenesis. It literally burns energy directly to create heat. In modern humans, because we live in climate-controlled environments, that tissue is highly degraded.
Oh, I see.
Furthermore, our modern subcutaneous fat is distributed differently. Without the immediate knowledge of how to cure animal hides to make clothing, your body cannot generate or retain enough heat. Fatal thermal shock isn't just a possibility, it's a mathematical certainty measured in hours.
Okay, so I'm freezing, I'm coughing my lungs out, my bones are relatively brittle, and I have no winter coat. But I have my big modern brain. If I know I'm freezing, I'll just use my intellect to invent tools. I'll build a fire, I'll fashion some shoes out of bark.
And this brings us right to the technological paradox. Your intellect is actively blocked by your physical reality. Let's look at your plan. You want to walk around and gather supplies. Take a second right now if you're listening and look down at your feet.
Okay.
Your feet have been shaped, pampered, and structurally weakened by a lifetime of wearing shoes.
Ah, the barefoot problem.
Yes. The sheer mechanics of walking on untamed, uneven, thorny terrain without soles. I mean, your feet would be severely lacerated within hours.
Ouch.
That leads to immediate infection. It compromises your mobility.
Yeah.
It completely rules out persistence hunting. You literally cannot run down your dinner, and you can barely walk to gather wood.
See, here's where it gets really interesting. It's the difference between understanding the aerodynamics of a Boeing 747 and actually trying to build a working glider out of wet sticks.
That is the perfect analogy.
The abstract knowledge means absolutely nothing on the ground.
Exactly. You might hold the abstract knowledge of quantum mechanics, global economics, or software engineering. But in a foundational survival matrix, that cognitive payload is completely useless. Let's go back to your plan to build a fire. You know the theoretical concept of fire. You know friction creates heat.
Right, I've seen survival shows. You get a bow drill, you spin a stick on a piece of wood, you get an ember. Simple.
Yeah, but watching a video doesn't build the necessary mechanics in your body. Do you know how to identify the exact species of dry wood required in a prehistoric forest?
Definitely not.
No. Do you have the specific fast-twitch muscle fibers in your forearms needed to maintain the friction speed while applying the exact downward kinetic pressure on a bow drill?
Probably not.
The answer is no. Can you nurture a microscopic coal in a damp environment using precisely modulated breath? Again, no. You would rub sticks until your hands bled, and you would freeze in the dark.
That is incredibly humbling. Okay, what about a weapon? Even if I can't make fire, I know that a sharp edge cuts things. I'll just break a rock and make a knife to defend myself.
Well, knowing what a sharp edge does is very different from actually creating one. If you want to create even the most rudimentary Oldowan or Schulian stone tools, you need a sophisticated understanding of lithic reduction.
Whoa, slow down. Oldowan tools, lithic reduction, what are we talking about here?
Essentially, it's the science of breaking stones. Oldowan and Acheulean refer to early styles of hand axes. To make one, you need to understand conchoidal fracture mechanics.
Conchoidal? You're losing me. Let's ELI 5 this. Are you just saying rocks break like glass?
Yes, exactly like that. When you strike a specific type of stone, like flint, the force ripples through it in a cone shape, sort of like a wave. It doesn't just shatter randomly if you hit it right. It flakes off perfectly sharp edges.
Okay, that makes sense.
But hitting it right requires knowing precise striking angles and applying exact amounts of force. These aren't just concepts you can guess. They require years of dedicated muscular practice to master. Your neurological pathways literally haven't been trained for it.
So I'd just be making a mess.
You would sit there smashing rocks together, creating nothing but blunt gravel. In terms of survival technology, you are vastly inferior to a Stone Age adolescent.
All right, so let's summarize my pathetic existence so far. I am coughing, freezing, my feet are shredded, I can't make a fire, and I am incapable of making a simple rock knife. I am just a mess. But let's assume a miracle. Let's say I stumble across the remains of a kill, or I find some plants. I'm starving. I'll just forage, right? Eat some roots.
Your digestive tract is about to become your absolute worst enemy. The dietary metamorphosis you would undergo is brutal. Think about your modern gut. It is completely habituated to heavily processed, easily metabolized carbohydrates.
Right.
Even our proteins are softened and domesticated by cooking. We've basically outsourced digestion to our ovens.
Oh, wait, people do the paleo diet all the time today. I can go to the grocery store right now, buy a grass-fed steak, some organic kale, a paleo snack bar. Isn't that preparing my gut?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the paleo diet you buy at the grocery store is a complete modern illusion. That organic kale is a genetically engineered masterpiece compared to Pleistocene weeds.
Ah, I see.
The Paleolithic biome doesn't offer pre-washed spinach and tenderized steaks. It offers tough, highly fibrous roots. It offers wild, undomesticated grains. And the game meat is fiercely contested and incredibly lean.
So what's the physical cost of actually eating that stuff?
The sheer energy expenditure required just to masticate, to physically chew, and then chemically digest this raw caloric intake is immense. The act of eating burns away the very calories you are desperately trying to consume.
That's a terrifying paradox. I'm eating, but I'm still starving. And the plants themselves aren't exactly friendly, are they?
Not at all. Modern flora has undergone thousands of years of selective breeding to make it sweet, palatable, and safe. The flora of the Stone Age is bitter and largely unpalatable. And more importantly, it is laden with natural botanical toxins.
Toxins, like poison.
They are natural defense mechanisms of the plants. Over millennia of eating safe, domesticated crops, human livers have evolutionarily downregulated. We lack the specific enzymes required to process those ancient botanical toxins in high volumes.
So what is the actual biological result of all this, if I eat it anyway?
Rapid, terrifying loss of body mass. You would face severe macronutrient deficiencies, desperately struggling to extract enough dietary fat from a landscape of incredibly lean animals and tough roots.
Wow.
You would be forced into a state of chronic, painful ketosis. Your survival exists entirely on the absolute margins of human metabolic capability. You just slowly waste away until your gut microbiome painfully adapts, or more likely, it just fails entirely.
It is staggering. The very hardware of our bodies, our lungs, our immune system, our feet, our guts, our livers, everything has been entirely tailored by the modern infrastructure we built around ourselves. Take that away, and we are functionally useless. Okay, but let's play out the ultimate scenario. I am starving, freezing, barefoot, and sick. But through sheer dumb luck, I see a campfire in the distance. Other humans. Early Homo sapiens, or maybe Neanderthals. This is first contact. How do I approach them without getting a spear through the chest?
This is the ultimate sociological and cognitive challenge. Your first instinct is probably to talk to them, to explain you mean no harm. But the linguistic barrier is absolute. You can't just speak slowly and loudly. Modern syntax is entirely useless against highly localized phonetic dialects or proto-languages.
Okay, so words are out. I rely on body language. I'll smile, put my empty hands up, palms open to show I don't have a weapon. Universal signs of peace.
Right, and that somatic or gestural communication is incredibly dangerous. Think about it from their perspective. To a Paleolithic hunter, an unfamiliar open palm gesture might be a localized pre-attack sequence.
Oh, jeez.
And a smile. In many primal contexts, baring your teeth is a primate threat display.
Oh, wow. So I'm just actively insulting them while trying to surrender?
Exactly. Add to that your bizarre clothing, your violent coughing, and your obvious physical weakness. You aren't interpreted as a deity falling from the sky. You are interpreted as a display of profound neurological illness or a curse.
Right, because I look so fragile.
You lack the robust physique, you lack their clan markings, and you lack survival skills. In a nomadic group, where every single calorie is fiercely contested, you are a caloric burden. You do not contribute.
Do they either kill me or leave me behind to freeze? How do I flip the script? Our source material mentions a survival pivot. I have to leverage the one thing that hasn't completely failed me yet, which is my abstract pattern recognition.
Yes. You must utilize your understanding of physical laws that do not rely on raw muscular output. If you want to integrate, you can't outhunt them. You have to demonstrate highly specific, localized utility. You have to shift their paradigm of survival.
What does that actually look like in practice? I mean, I can't show them my smartphone, but the battery is dead and it means nothing to them. I can't build a glider.
No, but you understand mechanical advantage. You understand the basic physics of levers, fulcrums, and inclined planes.
So to survive, you basically have to become the tribe's workplace safety and efficiency consultant.
That is a surprisingly accurate way to put it. Imagine the tribe is trying to move a massive megafauna carcass, or hoist heavy structural timbers for a shelter. They would do this through sheer, exhausting brute force.
Right.
You can step in and introduce rudimentary pulleys or use logs to create rollers to reduce friction.
Yeah.
By doing this, you are fundamentally altering and conserving the energy expenditure of the entire tribe. You are saving them calories.
Okay, I'm the physics guy. What else? What about all my modern knowledge of germs?
That is your second pillar. Advanced conceptual hygiene and resource management. You don't need to explain germ theory, but you can insist they boil water prior to consumption to kill local bacteria.
Oh, that's smart.
You can test and identify specific local muds or mosses that have natural antibacterial properties and use them for wound packing. You introduce the concept of isolating infected individuals to prevent community spread. You apply basic triage and tourniquets to hunting injuries.
So I'm upgrading their medical care.
Yes. By shifting the group's focus from pure physical endurance to strategic risk mitigation, you transition your status. You are no longer a caloric burden, you become an invaluable cognitive asset.
I become the weird, physically weak shaman of applied physics and hygiene. I love that. So I secure my place in the tribe, my body starts to adapt, I'm surviving, but the deep dive isn't over, because there is one final, completely silent predator waiting for me: the mind.
Yes. The psychological attrition of this dislocation is relentless.
Yeah.
We have to look at your modern neurological architecture. Your brain right now is wired for and heavily dependent upon a continuous stream of artificial dopamine stimuli.
You're talking about checking my phone, scrolling social media, getting text messages.
Yes, but even deeper than that. Rapid information processing, the daily news cycle, structured timekeeping. We organize our lives by the minute. If you check your screen time app right now, you'll see how addicted your brain is to constant, rapid-fire input. Suddenly, all of that is gone. You are plunged into what the text calls deep time.
Deep time, where days aren't measured by a clock, they're measured by solar arcs, like where the sun is in the sky. And seasons are measured by the slow migration of megafauna across a valley.
This induces profound sensory deprivation. The constant comforting hum of the modern world is gone. The silence of the ancient world is absolute, broken only by the raw acoustic reality of the wind, the rustle of foliage, the sounds of predators, and unfamiliar vocalizations. The existential isolation would be absolutely crushing.
And on top of that isolation, I'm carrying around this massive secret. The text calls it the phantom weight.
And this raises an important question about the burden of knowledge. You carry the phantom weight of lost civilizations. You know the entirety of future history. You know about the eventual rise of agriculture, the building of the pyramids, the splitting of the atom, the invention of the internet.
Yeah.
You know how antibiotics work. But you lack the mold, the lab, and the infrastructure to recreate them. You are totally powerless to accelerate the timeline. You can't explain any of this to anyone, and even if you tried, they wouldn't possess the contextual framework to understand you.
I am a ghost from the future, totally trapped in the past.
Which means your modern ego, your thoughts about your career, your financial worries, your future plans, all of those concepts must be violently dismantled. To survive, you are forced to regress to a state of absolute granular mindfulness. You must focus entirely and solely on the immediate present.
Wow.
Survival in the Stone Age isn't a triumph of future technology over the past. It is the agonizing, complete subjugation of the modern mind to the brutal, elegant, and unforgiving realities of the primal biosphere.
So what does this all mean? We started this deep dive thinking we could step out of a time machine and conquer the past with our modern, highly educated brains. But we've untacked a journey where you are immediately assaulted by unmanaged microscopic air hazards. You're thrown into fatal thermal shock because your body literally forgot how to keep itself warm.
Right.
You're crippled by your own soft feet and starved by a liver that forgot how to process wild plants. We've seen how your abstract knowledge of airplanes and software is utterly useless when your hands lack the muscle memory to nap a piece of flint. And finally, we've seen how survival demands the total subjugation of the modern ego to the brutal elegance of deep time.
It strips away every single illusion of our inherent biological supremacy. Our dominance as a species right now is entirely conditional on the artificial world we've built around ourselves.
And that leaves us with a lingering question for you to think about. If your modern intellect, your social skills, and your physical form are effectively useless in the foundational environment of our own species, how much of who you are right now is merely a product of the modern infrastructure that supports you? Take away the grocery stores, the hospitals, the internet, and the heater in your house. What is one piece of purely practical physical knowledge you actually possess that would outlast the collapse of the grid? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious and maybe, just maybe, look into how to make a fire without a lighter.